Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Mamacharya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Munatira Manacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Chaitanya Stotra Srimati Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai His Grantham Stattakacharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Vimseko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shaimakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadvipa Dham ki Shri Ayodhya Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Tulsi Devi ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Samveda Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Agyanantimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshashun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakahan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Some of the devotees here may be unfamiliar with this portion of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so I'm going to just read for a few minutes the 5, 10, 20 verses, maybe 15 verses about this pastime so that everyone is introduced and can appreciate the verse that we're going to chant today. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached Mathura, he immediately fell to the ground and offered obeisances with great ecstatic love. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the city of Mathura, he took his bath at Vishram Ghat. Then he visited the birthplace of Krishna. And he saw the deity named Keshava Ji. He offered his respectful obeisances. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced, he made loud vibrations, and all the people were astonished to see his ecstatic love. One Brahman, this Leela is about this Brahman. but he's not named. One Brahman fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya and then began to dance with him in ecstatic love. The two of them danced in ecstatic love and embraced each other and raised their arms and said, "Chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna." All the people then began to chant. And there was a great uproar. The priest in Lord Keshava's service came and offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a garland. When the people saw this dancing and chanting, they were struck with wonder. And they all said, such transcendental love is never an ordinary thing. The people said, simply by seeing Sri Chaitanya, everyone feels maddened with love of Krishna. Indeed, everyone is laughing and crying, dancing and chanting the holy name of Krishna. Certainly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all respects is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Now he has come to Mathura to deliver everyone. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the Brahman aside, sitting in a solitary place. The Lord began to question him. He asked, "You're an elderly Brahman. You are sincere and you are advanced in spiritual life. Where have you gotten this transcendental opulence of ecstatic love of Krishna?" The Brahman replied, "His Holiness Sri Madhavendra Puri came to the city of Mathura while he was on a tour, and in Mathura, Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my home and accepted me as a disciple. He even took lunch at my home. After installing the deity of Gopal, Srila Madhavendra Puri rendered him service. That deity is still being worshipped at Govardhan Hill. As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahman, he immediately offered obeisances at the Brahman's feet. Becoming fearful, the Brahman also immediately fell at the Lord's feet. Sri Chaitanya said, "You are on the platform of my spiritual master, and I am your disciple. Since you are my spiritual master, it is not befitting that you offer me obeisances." Upon hearing this, the Brahman became more afraid. He then said, "Why do you speak like this? You are a sannyasi. Upon seeing your ecstatic love, I can just imagine that you must have some relationship with Madhavendra Puri. That is my understanding. This kind of ecstatic love can be experienced only when one has a relationship with Madhavendra Puri. Without him, even a scent of such transcendental ecstatic love is impossible." Balabhadra Bhattacharya, Sri Chaitanya's servant, then explained the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told the Brahman what the relationship was between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After hearing this, the Brahman became very pleased and began to dance. The Brahman then took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home, and out of his own free will, he began to serve the Lord in various ways. He asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lunch. At that time, smiling, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch at your place, therefore you may cook and give me the food. That's my instruction." The Brahman belonged to the Sanodiya Brahmin community, and a sannyasi does not accept food from such a Brahmin. Although the Brahman belonged to the Sanodiya community, Srila Madhavendra Puri had seen that the Brahman behaved like a Vaishnava and had therefore accepted him as his disciple. The food he had cooked had also been accepted by Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu willingly requested food from the Brahman, and the Brahman, feeling natural humility, began to speak as follows. He said, it is a great fortune for me to offer you food. You are the Supreme Lord, and you are not restricted in any way because you are in the transcendental position. Foolish people will blaspheme you, but I shall not tolerate the words of such mischievous people. Prabhupada explains that the Sanodaya Brahman was criticizing the Brahmins who are known as the caste Brahmins. He said the Sanodaya Brahman was on the transcendental platform higher than the caste Brahmins. So he was calling them mischievous for blaspheming Chaitanya. People who criticized Chaitanya, he said they're blasphemous. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Vedas, Puranas, and great learned sages are not always in agreement with one another. Consequently, there are different religious principles. That was the verse that Govinda spoke on yesterday. Govinda gave a great class. You're going to see that my class is not as good. We'll chant the verse for today now. Text 185. Dharma stapana hetu sadura vyavahara. Dharma stapana hetu sadura vyavahara. Puri gosanira yea charan se dharmasara. Puri gosanira ye acharan se dharmasara. Please chant.
Dharma sastapana hetu sadura vyavahara.
Dharma stapana hetu sadura vyavahara.
Puri gosanira ye acharana se dharmasara.
Puri gosanira ye acharana se dharmasara. Ladies. One more. Dharma stapana hetu. To establish the principles of religion. Saduravya Mahara. Behavior of a devotee. Puri Gosanira. Of Madhavendra Puri. Ye Acharan. The behavior. Say that. Dharma Sara. The essence of all religion. So before I read the translation, let's just look at the synonyms we just read. Vyavahara means practical dealings. or conduct and behavior. It means how we function in ordinary life. That's vyavahara. Here it's joined with the word sadhura, so it refers to the behavior of a sadhu or a devotee. So you might wonder, how can the idea of practical dealings, ordinary behavior, ordinary social life be joined with the word sadhu? You might think, well, a sadhu doesn't engage in ordinary life. He doesn't conduct himself in an ordinary way. So why are these two words connected? But it's explained that spiritual life doesn't mean abandoning proper conduct or vyavahara. So sadhura, vyavahara. There's also the proper conduct of a spiritual person. So, okay, then you might say, well, are we talking about someone like Srila Prabhupada, who was a spiritual master, the founder Acharya? Or are we talking about us, devotees? We have ordinary dealings, maybe more than Prabhupada. Prabhupada's dealings might have been more spiritual, fully purified. But we can understand that our ordinary dealings in behavior and conduct are gradually becoming purified. That's the idea. As we attain and gain spiritual understanding, we understand how to purify our ordinary dealings and conduct. So we're coming up to the platform that Prabhupada exemplified. And that's in the words sadhura vyavahara, the behavior of a devotee. In this case, it applies to Madhavrinda Puri. Madhavrinda Puri is said to, his behavior is said to be the essence of religious principles. So, again, you have a top-level devotee being described. So his activities are distinguished from ordinary vyavahara. Ordinary vyavahara is family life, society, the duties we have, the money we earn, the service we give, the manners and etiquette that we observe. That's all there on the ordinary platform. But distinct from that is what's called paramartha. Paramartha. This is the ultimate spiritual reality, and sadhus and saintly devotees can act on that platform in relationship with Krishna. We can also aspire to reach the ultimate spiritual reality and act in our relationship with Krishna. That's what we're learning as we practice sadhana bhakti. So vyavahara and paramartha, the ultimate spiritual reality. Those two things. So what's in between those two things? The behavior of a devotee, sadhura vyavahar. He shows the example. He shows the way that you should act to enter into spiritual life. And therefore, it's said here, he establishes the principles of religion, the essence of religion. That's the idea of this verse. So I'll read the translation now. A devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. The behavior of Madhavrinda Puri Goswami is the essence of such religious principles. Okay, establishes dharma, dharma samstapana, hetu. We have a similar word for Srila Prabhupada, samstapakacharya. We say that almost every day when we say the Prem Dhvani prayer, samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada's honored in that way, that he's an individual who firmly establishes a spiritual institution, samstapaka, or a teaching, dharma stapana, hetu, to establish the principles of religion. And he does this by his behavior. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says a devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. And he gives the example of Madhavinda Puri. His behavior is the essence of such principles. And since Madhavinda Puri accepted the offering cooked by the brahman, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wants to eat the food cooked by the brahman, even though people might criticize him that a sannyasi doesn't accept meals from a Sanodiya brahman. Now, since we're talking about meals and not accepting food, or accepting food, we can just mention that the topic of what to eat and what not to eat reminded me of Srila Prabhupada's preaching to Christians in more than a dozen settings, in more than a dozen exchanges. Prabhupada talked to Christian leaders and priests about not eating meat. So what was he trying to do? He was trying to establish the principle, the essential, the essence of the Christian's religious principle, thou shalt not kill. And of course, some people agreed with him. Some said, oh, yes, it's true, but, it is the principle. We shouldn't eat meat, but we do. We don't follow it. Other people said, well, no, this thou shalt not kill applies to animals. It doesn't apply. To human beings, it doesn't apply to animals. You shouldn't kill people. But it's all right to kill animals. So that's just an example of Prabhupada trying to work with members of another religion, trying to establish the essence of their religious principles. Okay, the purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on this passage. Before I read further, I think I should comment on the first sentence. I did some research. The commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta is known as by the name Anubhashya. It's called that, Anubhashya, his Chaitanya Charitamrita commentary. So I wondered, when did he write it? How old was he? It was written in the early period of his life, between 1913 and 1915. That means it's about 115 years old, this commentary. And Bhaktisiddhanta was not even a sannyasi when he wrote it. He accepted sannyas in 1918, 5 years later. So he was still working and writing under his family name, Bimal Prasad Datta. So the book that was published, the first volume, actually, let's talk about just the first volume, because it was published over a period of 2 years, from 1913 to 1915. So the first volume had all the volumes had his name, Bimal Prasad Datta. And he was still developing the literary foundation for his movement that was to come. And his movement also was known for publishing many books. So the foundation had to be established also. So how did he do that? He established a press. And this was in Calcutta, in the area of Calcutta known as Kalighat. This was established in 1913, and that's when the first book was published, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, with his Anubhas commentary. In the next year, in June of 1914, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur left the world. His father left the world. And at that time, Bimal Prasad took over the editorship of the monthly magazine Sajjana Toshani, which Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, his father, had founded. And then by January of 1915, he moved the press from Calcutta to Vrajapatna in Mayapur. So that's not an easy thing to move a press. Press is a big machine. Plus there's a lot of other stuff in the office. But anyway, they moved in January 1915, and by June 1915, 6 months later, the Anubhas commentary was completed, the printing of the Anubhas commentary. And his guru, Gorakishore Das Babaji, was still present. He was initiated by Gorakishore Das, who lived until November 1915. So his father passed away while the publishing of the Chaitanya Charitamrita with his commentary was going on. But his own guru was present when the publishing was finished. So this commentary is of some importance to us because in the BBT, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada's version of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Anubhasya of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is a major source for some of the purports. There are at least 50 explicit sections of the Anubhasya quoted by Srila Prabhupada. And this is one that's quoted today. He writes, he starts his purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on this passage. And it's long. It's 2, 4, almost 6 pages long. So we're reading something that was written more than 110 years ago. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary reads, a sadhu or honest man is called a mahajan or a mahatma. The Mahatma is described thus by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 9:13. You can chant with me if you want. Mahatmanastu mamparta daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso gnatva bhuta dimam vyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine energy, the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So they abide in the divine nature. They're abiding in the divine nature, not the material nature. Therefore, they're known as great souls, Mahatma. So how do they do that? How do they stay in the protection of the divine nature? I read the purport to Bhagavad Gita 9:13, and Prabhupada says that Krishna explains how they do that. He quotes another verse in the 7th chapter, verse 14. Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam tam tarantite. Here Krishna says, my divine energy consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So you can go beyond the three modes of material nature by the process of surrendering to Krishna. Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. It's very difficult to cross beyond that. Material nature consists of the modes or the qualities of goodness and passion and ignorance. It's Krishna's illusory power, and we're bound by that nature, the three gunas. So three gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. If we take the first letter of each one of those, we have goodness, passion, and ignorance, GPI. So we can say that's Krishna's system of the three modes that binds the conditional soul's lives. Your life, your whole life, is guided by this GPI of Krishna, just as in your car, the GPS guides your car along the roads. The global positioning system, GPS, that's telling you where to go. So the GPI is Krishna's energy pushing you in the direction you're supposed to go according to Maya. Maya wants to guide your journey in life. But it's not possible to overcome that GPI unless you offer yourself to Krishna. Because he controls Maya. So Krishna can take control of us. He can free us from the control of Maya and give us his shelter. You know, the gunas are compared to ropes. Sometimes the word rope is used as a synonym for guna. So we say people are bound up by the gunas. You can imagine then being tied up by ropes. You can imagine, okay, suppose you're sitting on a chair and you're tied to the chair for some reason. It could be any reason. In the example I'll give, I was tied with ropes by my brother. We were, our friends and I were playing a game of cowboys and Indians. In America, on television, there used to be a lot of shows about cowboys and Indians in the Wild West, the western half of America. And so the boys and the children, they would play games like cowboys and Indians. And the Indians were, the native Indians in America were sometimes fighting with the settlers in America, who mostly came from the UK or Europe. A lot of people. My own father's family came from the UK to America. Anyway, I got tied up. I don't know if I was an Indian or a cowboy, but I got tied up by my older brother. He was 4 years old. He was quite a bit bigger. So he tied my arms behind my back. And then he took the rope and he tied my arms to my chest. And then he wrapped the rope around my legs and tied it at the ankles. And then he left. So I thought, well, this is like a contest. This is like cowboys and Indians. So I have to try to get away. I have to escape. And I was pretending I was a hero who had to escape. So I tried to stand up. And somehow I managed to stand up even though I was tied up. And then I tried to move. But the only way to move was to jump. So I started to jump and boom, I lost my balance. And I fell onto the sidewalk on my chin. And my chin broke open and I started bleeding. It was like a real TV Western, you know, when and it's blood because somebody gets shot, something like that. So I had to be rushed over to the doctor's office and I had to have stitches in my chin. So that's how hard it is to get out of Maya, to get out of the ropes. But Krishna says that the people who do get out of the modes of nature, it's because they know him as the source of everything, huh? And he says in the 7th chapter, 1st verse, you can know me completely beyond all doubt by practicing yoga with dependence on me. If you depend on Krishna, practice yoga, you'll know me completely beyond all doubt. You'll come to know me. And in the verse today, mahatmanas tumam partha, people are described as being fully engaged in devotional service because they know Krishna, they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original, inexhaustible person. So those are the persons who can abide in the divine nature and offer love to Krishna with their minds without focusing on anything else. They don't focus on something else, they focus on Krishna. So now I'll read the second paragraph of the purport. In the material world, the word Mahatma is understood in different ways by different religionists. Mundaners also come up with their different angles of vision. For the conditioned soul, busy in sense gratification, a mahajan is recognized according to the proportion of sense gratification he offers. For instance, a businessman may consider a certain banker to be a mahajan. And karmis, desiring material enjoyment, may consider philosophers like Jaimini to be mahajans. Jaimini is one of the 6 classical Vedic philosophers. He dealt with the ritualistic section of the Vedas, which gives fruit of results. So that's called karma mimamsa. The basic idea is that Vedic literature tells us to do things and that we'll get certain results by performing these duties. That's Jaimini's school of thought. So some people consider him a mahajan because they desire material enjoyment and he shows them. There are many yogis who want to control the senses, and for them, Patanjali Rishi is a mahajan. How many people practice yoga now during the week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Sometimes I do 7 hours of yoga a week because my god sister in Los Angeles is a yoga teacher, and she has classes on Zoom, 90-minute classes. So sometimes 5 days a week I'm taking a 90-minute class if I want to be in top shape. Sometimes I take 3 classes, or I stand on my head. The type of yoga that she teaches is called Iyengar yoga, and it's very carefully taught so that you don't hurt yourself and you do it properly. I happened to meet Mr. Iyengar once at his center in Zurich, Switzerland. The followers of Iyengar called up the Hare Krishna temple and said, we would like a translator from your temple to come and translate Mr. Iyengar's English into German, so we could do that. And they said we would also like you to bring prasadam, because there was a restaurant in Zurich. They knew about prasadam. We'd like you to bring prasadam to our yoga center. So at that time I met Mr. Iyengar. I brought a tiffin of Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath's plate. And when I told him it was Mahaprasad, he said, oh, then everybody should get a little bit. And he asked his assistant to take the tiffin and give everyone a little bit of Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad. My god sister, the yoga teacher, she invited Mr. Iyengar once to Jagannath Puri to see the Rath Yatra. My god sister used to dress Lord Jagannath in ISKCON in the early days, Kodashamani. And she's a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. She goes to the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra in India every year. And she actually bought an apartment in Puri, and she stays in her apartment in Puri when she's at the Rath Yatra. So she invited Mr. Iyengar to the Rath Yatra one year. Okay, so that's maybe Patanjali is a Mahajan for some yoga people. For the Gyanis, the atheists, Kapila, Vasishta, or the atheist Kapila, and others, Vasishta, Durvas, Dattatreya, and other impersonalists are Mahajans. For the demons, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana's son, Meghanada, Jarasandha, and others are accepted as Mahajans. For materialistic anthropologists, speculating on the evolution of the body, a person like Darwin is a Mahajan. The scientists who are bewildered by Krishna's external energy have no relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they are accepted by some as Mahajans. Similarly, philosophers, historians, literary men, public speakers, social and political leaders are all sometimes accepted as Mahajans. Such Mahajans are respected by certain men who have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam as men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. They praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the deliverer from evil. So it's not such a great thing to be respected by ordinary men if ordinary men themselves, never listen to the pastimes of Krishna. That's the idea. Now there's 5 pages left. I'm not planning to read the whole purport because, everybody will fall asleep. And I thought I would just stop here and see if there are any questions, since we're late. Anyhow, we're running late. Okay, there are no questions. That's good. Then we can stop here. Thank you very much. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Oh my gosh, is this a dress? You can write there and say, can I join your yoga classes? She actually lets the devotees take the class for free. So why don't you send me an email? Take my email and then send me an email and I'll respond to your email and give you your contact.